For 30 years, Mike Turner gave everything to his daughter. Every morning before dawn, every penny he didn't spend on himself, every sacrifice hidden behind a quiet smile. But today, he would discover something that would change everything he believed about being a father. He reached under the seat, not expecting to find anything. But beneath years of dust and forgotten items lay something that would answer questions he'd carried his whole life. The letter began with 4 words that Mike had waited a lifetime to hear: every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every moment he put her needs before his own. She had seen it all. She had remembered everything. This is the story of a father who thought his greatest legacy was fixing cars. But his real legacy, his only legacy that mattered, was a daughter who loved him with every fiber of her being. The car that changed everything arrived on a Tuesday morning in November. It was a 2008 Ford Focus, pale blue with rust spots creeping along the wheel wells like slow-moving ivy. The engine hadn't been serviced in over a year, the transmission made concerning noises, and the dashboard warning lights blinked like dying heartbeats. To most people, it would have been deemed unrepairable. To Mike Turner, it was an opportunity. Mike was 64 years old, and his hands told the story of his entire life. The calluses on his palms ran deep as canyons. His fingers were permanently stained with motor oil that no amount of scrubbing could remove. There were scars from sharp metal edges, small burn marks from engine blocks, and the permanent curve of someone who had spent 4 decades bent over machines, fixing what was broken. He lived alone in a modest house on the outskirts of Columbus, Ohio, the same house where he had raised his daughter, Emily, after her mother, Sarah, had passed away when Emily was just 7 years old. 37 years had passed since that day, and Mike still wore his wedding ring every single day. He kept Sarah's photograph on the nightstand, and sometimes, when the house felt too quiet, he would talk to her as if she could hear him. "I'm doing my best with her," he would whisper into the darkness. "I hope I'm doing it right." Emily had never known her mother. The memories Mike could share were fragments. Sarah's laugh, her way of humming while cooking, her absolute devotion to their daughter. But more than the small stories, Emily knew something far more powerful. She knew what her father's love looked like in action. Love, for Mike Turner, was not a feeling expressed in words. It was shown in the pressed lunches he made every morning at 5 a.m., preparing sandwiches and cutting fruit with a precision that bordered on meditative. It was shown in the way he worked triple shifts at the maintenance company, coming home gray with exhaustion but still finding the energy to help with homework. It was shown in the modest but carefully tended house, the vegetable garden he maintained, the reliability of his presence. After Emily became an adult, moved into her own apartment, and started her career as a graphic designer in downtown Columbus, Mike had continued his habits of quiet devotion. When her car broke down, he fixed it. When she needed advice, he listened without judgment. When she struggled financially in those early years, he quietly paid bills he pretended she didn't know about. Emily had confronted him about this countless times, frustrated by what she perceived as his stubborn refusal to accept her independence. "Dad, I'm 44 years old. I can fix my own car. I can pay my own bills. Stop trying to control my life," she had said during one particularly heated argument 5 years earlier. Mike had simply looked at her with those deep blue eyes and said quietly, "I'm not trying to control your life, sweetheart. I'm trying to remain useful in it." Emily had never understood that statement. How could remaining useful mean continuing to treat her like a child? But Mike understood something that he had never been able to articulate to his daughter. A man whose only skill was his hands, whose only purpose had been to provide and fix and care for someone else, was terrified of becoming irrelevant. He was terrified that if he stopped being useful, he would stop being necessary. And if he wasn't necessary, then what was the point? So when Emily's Ford arrived at his house on that Tuesday morning, towed by a friend who had found it disabled on the highway, Mike saw it as a gift. He saw it as another chance to be the one who fixed what was broken. He spent the entire day working on that car. The transmission needed a complete fluid change. The brakes required new pads and rotors. The serpentine belt was cracked and had to be replaced. The alternator was running hot and needed reconditioning. It was a job that would cost Emily over $1,500 at a professional shop. Mike did it all for the cost of parts, working until 11 p.m. with a shop light draped over the engine compartment, his breath visible in the cold November air. The next morning, when Emily arrived to pick up the car, Mike was standing in the driveway, waiting. He had showered and put on a clean shirt, as if this were an important occasion. In his mind, it was. He had just given himself another month of relevance, another reason to exist in his daughter's life. "It's all fixed," he said, handing her the keys. "Everything that was broken. It's running like new now." Emily hugged him, kissed his cheek, and climbed into the driver's seat. "Thank you, Dad. You're the best. I don't know what I'd do without you." She said the words quickly as if they were a script, a ritual they had performed countless times before. As Emily was pulling away, Mike called out, "Wait, check under the seat before you drive." Emily asked, already halfway back to her car. "I just want to make sure I got all the junk cleaned out." "Check the back seat and passenger side," he called. Emily rolled her eyes good-naturedly and reached under the passenger seat. Her hand emerged with a folded piece of lined notebook paper yellowed with age, the creases deep and worn as if it had been opened and refolded hundreds of times. "What is this?" Emily asked, looking at the paper with confusion. "I don't know," Mike said, but his heart had begun to race. "It was under the seat. I found it when I was cleaning." "What does it say?" Emily unfolded it slowly. The handwriting was her own, younger, less polished, filled with the careful precision of a 12-year-old's printing. Her face drained of color as she read. "Oh my God," Emily whispered. "Oh my God, Dad. What does it say?" Mike asked, and there was a tremor in his voice that Emily had never heard before. Emily began to read aloud, her voice breaking. "Dear Dad, I don't know if you'll ever find this letter. I wrote it when I was 12, and I hid it under the seat of your old Jeep. I'm putting it there because I need to write down everything you do for me that you think I don't notice, you think I don't see. But I see everything. I see you wake up at 4 a.m. every morning to pack my lunch before school. I know you make those little sandwiches with the crusts cut off even though you're tired. I see you put a handwritten note in my lunchbox every single day. I found the stack of them in my backpack last week, and I cried for an hour. I see you work overtime shifts even though you come home so exhausted you can barely stay awake through dinner. I see you give money to my teacher so she won't tell me that our family can't afford the field trip. I pretended I didn't know, but I knew. I see you mending your socks instead of buying new ones. I see you eating the smallest portion at dinner, so there's enough for me. I see you wearing the same 2 shirts to work, washing them every night. I see you crying sometimes when you think I'm asleep. I hear you talking to Mom's photograph. I know you miss her, and I know you're scared that you're not doing a good job without her. But Dad, you are doing the best job. You're doing an amazing job. Nobody has ever loved me the way you do. Not with words, you're not good at words, but with actions, with your hands, with your time, with every single sacrifice you make that you think I don't see. I wanted to write this down so that someday, when I'm older, I can remember every single thing you did for me. So I can tell you that it mattered. It all mattered. Every piece of it. I love you so much, Dad. I'm sorry I don't always say it out loud. But I hope someday you find this and you know. You'll always know. Love, Emily? Emily's voice had deteriorated into barely audible whispers by the end. When she finished reading, she looked up to see her father standing absolutely still, his face turned away, his shoulders shaking silently. "Dad?" Emily said softly. Mike turned to face her, and there were tears streaming down his weathered face in rivers. His hands were shaking. His lips trembled as he tried to speak. I didn't know," he said. I thought you didn't notice. I thought you resented me. I thought you thought I was controlling you, that I didn't trust you to be independent." Emily walked to him and wrapped her arms around his shoulders. He was taller than her, broader, stronger, but in that moment, he felt fragile, like a man who had been carrying an enormous weight his entire life and had suddenly set it down. "I never resented you, Dad. I never could. When I got older and you kept helping, I thought it was about control. But I was wrong. I see it now. You were just loving me the only way you knew how. But you're independent now," Mike said. "You don't need me to fix your car or pay your bills. You don't need me at all anymore." Emily pulled back and looked at her father with the tenderness of a woman looking at someone she loved more than anything. "Dad, I will always need you. Not because I can't take care of myself, but because you're my father. Because you taught me what it looks like to give everything for someone you love. And I need to spend my life showing you how much I love you back." Mike couldn't speak. His voice had left him entirely. So instead, he held his daughter and let himself cry. All the tears he had held back for 37 years, all the doubt and fear and desperate hope that he had somehow done right by her. That afternoon, Emily called in sick to work. She and her father spent the entire day together, something they hadn't done in years. They went to lunch at a small diner, and Mike ordered his usual, a simple sandwich and black coffee. But he didn't eat the smallest portion. He ate like a man who suddenly believed he deserved to be nourished. Emily told him stories about her life, the real stories, not the sanitized versions she had shared before. She told him about her fears, her triumphs, her dreams. And Mike listened with the full attention of a man who was finally, truly hearing his daughter. That night, for the first time in years, Emily stayed at her father's house. They sat on the porch in the cold November darkness, wrapped in blankets, not needing to fill every silence with conversation. And Mike understood something that he hadn't understood before. Being useful to Emily wasn't about fixing things or working overtime or sacrificing himself. Being useful was about being present, being there, being a father who had shown her, through his entire life, what unconditional love looked like. The letter, carefully preserved in its yellowed paper and worn creases, was now kept in a frame in Mike's living room. It sat on the mantel next to his photograph of Sarah, and every morning when Mike woke up, he read it. Not because he had forgotten what it said, he had memorized every word, but because those words had become his new purpose. His legacy wasn't the cars he had fixed or the years he had worked or the sacrifices he had made. His legacy was a daughter who loved him enough to write down the evidence of his love and then wait 32 years to let him find it. Mike was 64 years old now, and he finally understood. He had never been afraid of becoming irrelevant. He had been afraid of his love not being enough, but Emily had shown him the truth. His love had been more than enough. It had been everything. And that knowledge, that certainty, changed everything.